the educational interpretation of the Holy Quran. Faith-based education in the embrace of the Quran. Surah Al-Ma'arij Lesson 8, the Quranic verse, and those who believe in the Day of Judgment. We now come to discuss the fourth attribute of the sincere believers, which is belief in the Day of Judgment, a firm conviction in the hereafter, and certainty about what it entails of resurrection, reckoning, and recompense. Belief in the Day of Judgment is one of the pillars without which faith cannot be realized, and the Day of Judgment is the Day of Resurrection, and it is called so because it is the Day of Reckoning and Recompense. Judgment means recompense, and the Arabs say, "As you treat, so shall you be treated." Those who believe in the Day of Judgment see the divine estimation and management of human existence on earth. There is a capable, wise God who does everything with measure and brings everything to an end. There is a law that governs human existence in this life. Behind that law is a goal, and behind the goal is wisdom. There is a specific purpose for human existence on earth, which is represented in a specific duty. Whoever fulfills it has achieved the purpose of his existence, and whoever neglects it or turns away from it has nullified the purpose of his existence, and he becomes without a duty, and his life becomes empty of purpose, devoid of its original meaning. This specific duty is worship of God. Or it is servitude to God, that there be a servant and a Lord. A servant who worships, and a Lord who is worshipped. And that the entire life of the servant is based on this consideration. Indeed, the coming of man into this life has come according to a destiny that runs towards a predetermined goal, ending in reckoning and recompense. The journey of man on this earth is a test that ends in reckoning and recompense. And death in that journey is not the end of the road, but rather a stage along the way that man traverses until he reaches the end of his journey, to the abode of bliss, the refuge of the happy, or to the abode of misery, the refuge of the miserable. Therefore, the believer in the Day of Judgment does not see anything strange in life after death and decay. This event comes according to divine management, nor does he see that the return of man to life after death is something difficult or a matter hard for God, because his very reality, that reality which depicts his origin from a despicable water, and his transformation into that great being, is something he sees as a reality in his life, and witnesses with his own eyes and senses, repeatedly reminding him of the significance of that great event that occurred by the power of God, the event of life from nothingness. So he takes it as evidence for the event of life after nothingness, and faith in God's promise of his resurrection and revival after his death and burial, to receive what he deserves of recompense. And he who began creation, glory be to him, will return it, and the return is not harder for him than the beginning. It is in its nature easier and simpler, and nothing is easier for God or harder. Indeed, belief in the Day of Judgment has a decisive impact on the methodology of life in feelings and behavior. The scale in the hands of the believer in the Day of Judgment is different from the scale in the hands of the denier of this day or the one who is skeptical about it. The scale of life, values, actions, events, and destinies. The believer in the Day of Judgment weighs all those things with the scale of heaven, not with the scale of earth, and with the accounting of the everlasting hereafter, not with the accounting of the fleeting world, and accepts what his Lord decrees for him of events, both good and bad, with good acceptance, not with panic that makes him despair in the face of evil, and in the face of good, he is reluctant. Rather, he is patient with evil, and grateful for good, and in his reckoning, these trials are preliminaries in this world, and their results are there in the hereafter, so he adds to them the expected results when he weighs and evaluates them. Belief in the Day of Judgment attaches the eyes and hearts of people to another world beyond the world of earth, so they are not overwhelmed by the necessities of earth. At that point, they possess the ability to rise above these necessities. And they are not overwhelmed by anxiety about achieving the recompense for their efforts in their short, limited lifespan, and in the confined realm of earth. At that point, they possess the ability to work for the sake of God, and to await the recompense where God decrees it, whether in this world or in the hereafter, with tranquility in God, and confidence in goodness, and determination in truth, and with breadth, tolerance, and certainty. Conversely, the denier of the day of judgment sees life as a movement without cause, goal, or purpose. Wombs that give birth and graves that swallow, and between these two, there is play and amusement, adornment and boasting, and a fleeting enjoyment akin to that of animals. There is no law governing life, no goal, and no wisdom in existence, and he sees the belief in the hereafter as something strange, and considers the event of life after death as something odd. Just as he sees difficulty in imagining the gathering of decayed bones that have gone into the dust, scattered in the soil, and returning them to a living human as they were. The denier of the day of judgment considers everything according to what happens to him in this short, limited life, and moves within the boundaries of this limited earth, and the limits of this counted lifespan. Therefore, his reckoning changes, and the results of his scales differ, and he always ends up with incorrect results and inverted estimates. He is a miserable, tormented, anxious person, because what happens to him in this worldly life, which confines his reflections, reckonings, and estimates, may not be reassuring, comfortable, or satisfying, unless he adds to it the reckoning of the hereafter, which is the greater and everlasting reckoning. Therefore, woe to those who do not take into account the reckoning of the hereafter, and live in this worldly life a constrained existence. And he cannot have a noble life that finds its recompense clearly in this world. Therefore, belief in the hereafter is a part of faith that the methodology of life in Islam is based upon. A person's life cannot align with the lofty methodology of God unless the belief in the hereafter is realized in his perception. And unless he connects this world with the hereafter, the beginning with the end, the action with the recompense, and unless his heart is assured that his recompense on earth is not his final portion. And unless the limited individual believes that he has another life worth striving for, and that he should sacrifice for the sake of truth and goodness, relying on the reward he will receive therein, and unless a person feels that he is not an abandoned creature, that he was not created in vain, and that he will not be left without purpose, and that absolute justice is waiting for him, to reassure his heart, stabilize his thoughts, and return to righteous deeds, and to God's justice and protection at the end of the road. And there is a vast difference between one who feels that his life on earth is all he has in this existence, and one who feels that his life on earth is a test that paves the way for recompense, and that true life is there, beyond this small, limited space. And the believers in the day of judgment, those who believe in the hereafter, are not equal to the deniers who reject it. They are not equal in feeling, character, behavior, or action. They are two different categories of creation. Two distinct natures of humans, which do not meet on earth in action, nor do they meet in the hereafter in recompense. And those who believe in the day of judgment